Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Leeson Learn. Thank you so much for being here. I certainly do appreciate it. What a show we have today. What an episode. My guest today, my buddy, my pal, professional wrestler. I never used the term pal, and I'm not sure why I did right now. He is the first and only person I have ever defeated in a professional wrestling match, which wasn't professional at all, and I am happy that he was able to do the show, do the episode. I know you're going to love it, so check it out. Here he is, Mr. Ben Ortmanns. Ben Ortmanns.
Jeff Leeson.
How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to see you.
Well, it's sort of good to see you.
Interesting. Okay.
I've got a little tiff that we need to discuss here.
Oh, no. What happened?
Well, this is where you got to tell me.
Okay.
What happened last time I saw you?
The way I recall it, we had a match. We had a wrestling match.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
You and Chris Tidwell invited me to your space to learn a little bit about the pro wrestling business. You taught me a couple moves, and then you and I had a match, and the way I recall it, I beat you in that match fair and square. Beginner's luck, I think.
See, this is where I guess the winner kind of gets to rewrite history, but since I'm in the room, I mean, we might as well discuss it because I kind of remember it a little differently. I remember, and thankfully, there's video footage of this. Happens to be on your channel.
Yeah, the Jeff Leeson Show channel on YouTube, of course.
Please go check it out.
Please do.
A lot of people did. Thank you very much, by the way.
Thank you.
I see, when I went back and I watched the finished product, I noticed that there was this red $50 bill that went from your hand over to Chris's hand, who was a referee in that match.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, and there's this term that we use. I feel like I got motherfucked.
Interesting.
On that whole deal, because I don't remember it being a fair and square thing. I do remember you winning. I do remember that part.
Yeah.
But I remember a little bit of motherfucking going on there.
I do remember paying Chris for the time. You guys taught me some stuff. I thought there was a fee involved in that. So I do remember I might have gave Chris some money for, your time, but I don't remember anything about this motherfucking you speak of.
So wait, are you saying that you owe me $50? Because technically, if you're paying him for the training, did I just not get my?
Well, it was for the both of you. He didn't share it with you?
That son of a bitch.
Now, see, this is a Chris Tidwell issue, and he's not here, so that's something you guys...
I may have to take that up with him.
Yeah, I think...
I don't see it going very far, but I may have to take it up with him.
Yeah, I would have a chat with him, man, because I simply...
I got double motherfucked.
Yeah, I don't remember it that way, but...
We're still here, though.
Yeah.
And I'm lived to tell about it, thankfully.
That's always good.
It was.
And I appreciate that we were able to do this, and now we've had it out. Now we've both understand
I feel a little better,
other.
and I do feel like we've both gone in and we've done okay since then, both of us.
Yeah, I feel like that loss didn't really affect you at all.
Thankfully, I've got enough of those that I can just kind of continue to move on with my day. But
I'm glad.
Those L's have also brought me into other opportunities in wrestling, and thankfully they have.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to get into that today because you have agreed to be here on the podcast. I appreciate it. How old were you when you started wrestling? Like when you got into it?
I started training when I was 15.
Wow.
Actually, I started training at one point in time. I started training when I was 12. But then I actually started training at this school called Hart Brothers School of Wrestling.
Yeah.
Notorious TID has a bit of a history there. I never crossed paths with him, but I went down there because my art teacher, Mr. Miori, great guy. I still actually talk to him to this day. Me and him were like wrestling nerds, and this was like when the internet was kind of like first a thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't have pay-per-views in my place where I was living. Like we didn't have the pay-per-view box. So in order to find out the results of pay-per-views, I had to wait until the next day because we didn't have internet and it was still kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I had to, that was how I found out the results of a lot of pay-per-views is I would go into class the next day and Mr. Miori would be sitting there telling me all the results of the shows. He would let me do cool things, like he was the art teacher. So he would let me make all wrestling stuff in class. Like everybody else had to do make this or make that. And like we're making like ceramic mugs there the one day. And I'm like, can I make one that just says like The Undertaker and give it to my dad for Christmas? He's like, fucking Yeah, go for it. Nice. So he was super cool in that regard. But the one day he showed up with this news article, and keep in mind, I'm in grade fucking 6, maybe less at the time. I was young. Well, I was 12. So he brings in this article for this wrestling school at Cambridge, and it was the Hart Brothers School of Wrestling. So I begged my mom. I'm like, because I was a Bret Hart guy. I'm like, fucking Hart Brothers are in Cambridge? You have to take me now. So she brings me down reluctantly. We go down there. They loved me because I knew so much about wrestling, or at least they appeared to love me. Yeah. They asked me to stay. Like, I did a bunch of workouts with them and the whole shebang. And they appreciated that I had knowledge of wrestling. And then my mom kind of caught on to the scam behind the whole thing.
So I want to get to a couple of interesting stories from your journey, you know, as an independent pro wrestler. Mm-hmm. Tell me a couple of your kind of favorite, I guess, road stories, like, you know, just something that's happened while you were on the road doing a gig somewhere, whether it was in the ring or after a show.
It's funny because when I hear wrestlers talk about like road stories and stuff like that, I always like think back to myself and I'm like, you know, in a weird way, I think I was kind of lucky, like sort of like a lot of my stories are tame, you know?
Right.
But I mean, obviously you're going to run into some crazy shit. Like, I mean, probably one of the craziest, actually definitely the craziest thing that's ever happened to me on a road trip was when I was doing the Northern Hell tour for Tony Condello. Have you ever heard of that before?
Yes, I have. That's the one where Rhino, Edge, and Christian did, and they fell through the ice in the van or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They didn't fall through, but like it was very, very close.
Right.
So
that's the only, and then I've heard it on podcasts, like people will just mention that guy's name in that, Northern Hell run.
Northern Hell
Which
tour.
is
Tony
where?
It's in northern Manitoba. So
like northern Manitoba, where there
like
is
the Indian
not,
reserve.
Yeah.
Like the legit Indian reserves. Because like, and to the point where we went to, and I knew this was a rule going in there, but then it actually happened, where if there's a death on the island, everything shuts down for 3 or 4 days. So like we got there and somebody had died on whatever reserve that we were on, and we literally had to sit and wait for days to do the show. And it was kind of nuts.
Was this like a hotel or something, or?
No, there was one hotel that we got the entire tour that we were there.
What do you sleep in?
We slept on the floor and gym mats, like basically whatever town that we got into, they would let us into the school and like where we would perform. We would go into whatever the gym, we would find gym mats, and that's where we slept.
Wow.
Yeah. But the craziest part is when I did the Hell Tour the year that I did it, it was such a last minute thing. Like that guy Vance Nevada that I was telling you about from BC calls me up the one day, and I'm at an internet cafe in Hamilton, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm at an internet cafe in Hamilton. What are you doing?" He's just like, "Can you get to Winnipeg tonight?"
Tonight.
And I was like, "Tonight?" I'm like, I never even questioned. I'm like, I don't know. So I went online. I was there. I'm like, I'm looking at flights, and I'm like, I think the earliest I can be there is tomorrow morning. Why? What's up? And he's just like, get there tomorrow morning. You're doing the Northern Hell Tour. I was just like, what? Yeah. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. He's like, yeah, you're going to do it. And I'm like, well, fuck yeah, I'm going to do it. Okay, well, call me back and let me know if I got to fucking book this flight. He's like, yeah, book the flight. I don't have a credit card. So luckily, my buddy Luke hooks that up. I'm pretty sure. If I remember correctly, I think Luke paid for my flight, and then I like gave him the money.
Right.
Like he drove me to the airport and everything. He wrestles here as HHV now. Great guy. So we go out there, and like I just remember
HHV?
Yeah.
What does that stand for?
Hoyt Hans von something the fuck or other. God damn it, I can't remember.
I don't even care. I'm so
great.
glad I asked.
He's it's
HHV.
Dude, he's so good. Like he's one of those guys where he has no business being as good as he is. He's a part-time wrestler here. He's a family man. He does his thing. He does it here because he loves it, and I let him because I love him, you know. And he works very, very hard. So he's a fucking gem. But sorry, let me get back to this.
Yeah, sorry, man.
I get to the hotel in Winnipeg the next morning, and I get to the airport. I get picked up. They bring me to this hotel, and like we're standing in this fucking like military line. And then like Tony Condello, like he like coming up to us and like dealing like with us all individually. And then he comes up to me and he's just like, who the fuck are you? I was like, Sean Morgan, sir. I'm here from Vance. I was wrestling as Sean Morgan. I'm like, my name is Sean Morgan. Vance, Nevada sent me here. You look like a fucking grizzly bear. And then walked away. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm asking this young kid, I'm like, what the fuck is this guy's deal? Like, I don't understand. He's just like, oh, he's funny, whatever. Next thing I know, I'm not Sean Morgan anymore. He's calling me Grizzly Morgan. And that was my new name for the tour. So he calls me over to the first day, and he's like, Grizzly, you want to ride with me? And I'm like, yes, I fucking do. So we hop in. We had 2 cargo vans that we split the ring in, and we loaded half the ring in one, half the ring in the other. And then we had a passenger van where like the rest of us were all driving up.
Right.
So we're driving. He's telling me, he's like, why did you come here? And I'm like, well, if I'm being completely honest with you, like, you're Tony Condello, first of all. This tour is legendary, and Chi-Chi Cruz is on this tour, and I want to wrestle Chi-Chi Cruz. He's a fucking legend. That's who I want to wrestle. Like, it's, all right, that's nice to know, but I've got you wrestling against this other guy. And I'm like, who? And then he tells me the guy's name, and I'm like, I've never heard of him before. And then all of a sudden, this young kid elbows me, and he's just like, hey, just out of curiosity. He's like, who's the best guy that's in Ontario? It's like, Showtime Eric Young, hands down. He's like, well, this guy's the Showtime Eric Young of Manitoba, so maybe be a little bit more excited to work with him. And I'm like, okay. So I'm still shooting the shit with Condello, and I'm like, so just out of curiosity, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy that you want me to wrestle? His name's Kenny Omega. I'm like,
no shit.
Yeah. So I wrestled. I did an entire tour wrestling. So what we would do is we open the show and we would wrestle a singles match, and I would beat Kenny. I wish this meant something in wrestling like it did in fighting. Kenny Omega has never beaten me in a singles match. And then what we would do is we would have a little kerfluffle. We would have a mixed tag match, a tag match at the end of the show as the main event. It was me and one of Don Callis' students, and we would wrestle Kenny and a midget with boxing gloves.
Okay.
So that was the deal. And then obviously they get their comeuppance. They beat us or whatever.
The midget and Kenny?
The midget and Kenny.
Right.
They get their comeuppance at the end of the show.
Wow.
And that was the show that we were taking across the thing there. So
was Kenny traveling with you guys, or was he?
So Kenny was just starting out at the time. Like I didn't know who Kenny was.
Right.
So this is where, in retrospect, it's kind of a bit of a trip because him and I did not get along. And the reason why we didn't get along was because I was raised as a very old school like wrestler. Like there's a method to the madness. Like you don't go fast, you don't flip. Like you make this look real as fuck. Like here's the formula. It's like, yes, sir. Like I felt like I was I was in that last class of people to kind of be taught that way. So keep in mind this is a couple years later. So like, you know, I didn't know who this guy was. And when we start trying to figure out a match, he's like, oh yeah, I want to flip here and do this and crazy ass this. And I'm like, that's not how we do this, dude. I'm like, what the fuck? And then we would argue about it all the time. And then we would go and wrestle and he would just force things on me. And it would get like, is this motherfucker trying to fight me? Like, what is going on? And he forced his style on me. And for the first few nights, I was literally ready to fight him. I was just like, this isn't what I do, and you're trying to punk me out. I'm a fuck you up. Then one night, we're doing the same spiel, and we go out and we do a singles match, and you can tell that like we're at our like most angst with one another that day. He's giving her like, and he's doing like your typical Kenny Omega stuff that you would see now. Like he gave me the one thing I remember is he gave me a belly to back suplex that he dumped me right in my brains. And I was ready to get up right then and there and I was going to go and start boxing the fucking mouth off of him. Stayed professional. And I'm like, no, because we still got a show to do. And I still got another match with this guy. We get through the match. Now, at this particular town, we had 2 locker rooms where the heels were and the baby faces were.
And what were you?
I was a heel.
Okay.
He was the baby face.
Heel meaning bad guy for anybody.
Bad guy, yes.
Yeah.
And Kenny was the good guy. So Chi-Chi Cruz was also a good guy, and he comes into our locker room, and he's just like, what the fuck was that? And I'm fuming at this point. And I'm like, Cheech, go tell Kenny Omega that when we go out there for that main event, he better put his fucking hands up because we are fighting for fucking real. Like, I am not going to fucking sit here and take this shit from anybody, like, let alone this little puny fuck. So Cheech calms me down and, like, kind of talks to me. He's like, yo, dude, like, I don't think you know, like, this is just what the kid, like, you got to work with him. Like, he's trying to work with you, but you got to understand, like, this kid's on a completely different level. And he kind of explained that to me. And then I was just like, he calmed me down to the point where when we went out and did the tag match, I kind of understood things a little bit better. And, like, he understood things a little bit better, but we were both still pissed off at one another. And we hadn't quite settled it yet. We settled it in the ring. And it ended up being the best match that we had. And then at the end of that, then we were just like, I don't hate you anymore. We're okay. And then, like, it was one of those, we earned each other's respect that night.
Right.
But what I realized was that was my turning point in wrestling. That was where I learned, oh, this is where the business is going. Like, okay, my mind has been opened to a whole new world, and I have to accept this, because if I don't, then I'm going to fall behind and die.
Right.
You know? So it was a real eye-opener, that whole thing. And it's crazy to see him go on and do all of the things that he's done, what he's doing right now. To say that, like, I got to have a go with that guy, like, as many times as I did, it's almost weird, like, as a wrestling fan, to even consider that. But then I also kind of have to look at it as a bit of a pride thing too, you know, because I'm sure that he hated the experience because, like, he felt like he was probably trying to bring me up to his level.
Right.
But he did. And he forced me to move up levels. And if it was a process that he hated, sorry, Kenny, but I'll always thank him and love him for that.
This episode of Leeson Learned is sponsored by the Big Fish Steak and Lounge in Sarnia, Ontario. One of my personal favorite restaurants in the world. I was going to say in the country, but no, in the world. They have some of the greatest food I have ever had. Every single time I eat there, I think to myself, it will never get better than what I have just eaten. And the next time I go back, they top it once again. It's that good. If you live in the Sarnia area, make sure you book your reservation for lunch or dinner, or hell, book your reservation for both right now. Do it tonight. What are you going to cook for dinner tonight? Probably something awful. Don't do that. Head on over to the Big Fish Steak and Lounge. If you don't live in Sarnia, I suggest you make a trip down just for the food, or if you're going to be in the area, stop in and have one of the greatest meals you will ever have. This episode of Leeson Learned is sponsored by Cookum's Secret and G's Carpet Cleaning and Services. For all your cleaning needs, contact G's Carpet Cleaning and Services. And for your personal well-being, contact Cookum's Secret Sonotherapy with Drumming at G2cleaningservice.com. I got a chance to actually go up to Timmins and take part in the sonotherapy and the drumming. It was extremely relaxing. I recommend it highly. Head on over to G2cleaningservice.com and book your time today, and make sure you get some cleaning done while you're there. Why was your name Sean Morgan?
That's a great question, actually. There was this old rule in wrestling back in the day. It's like, don't use your real name, because then people could find out who you are and they can bother you. And there was this real unrealistic sense of self-awareness back in the day, I guess you could say. And it was just cooler to have a different name, you know? Like, everybody has, like, an alias, you know? Like, Hulk Hogan's name's not Hulk Hogan.
Right.
You know?
It's not even... Like, Hogan isn't even his real last name.
No.
Yeah.
Like, Randy Savage isn't Randy Savage. He's Randy Poffo.
Right.
Like everybody has like this cool little spin on their name. And then this is actually a really great story. So my original trainers, when they were asking me, they're just like, like, what do you want your wrestling name to be? That was the very first time. And keep in mind, I'm like 16, 17 years old at this point, right? It was at that very moment that I realized I couldn't be Hulk Hogan. I always wanted to be Hulk Hogan when I was a kid.
Right.
That was what I wanted to be in wrestling. Then I trained wrestling, and then all of a sudden when it was like, okay, well, who do you want to be? I was just like, oh, fuck, Hulk Hogan's taken.
Hulk Hogan. Yeah.
Fuck! Oh, I've wasted so much time. I don't know who I am. So then they started making pitches to me. And they're just like, well, we've got this idea for you. I was like, well, what's that? And they're like, we really like this. Like, this is going to be the one. Okay, explain it to me. You're going to wear a toga.
Okay.
I'm a toga? Yeah. And you're going to come down to the ring all fat and sloppy, and you're going to come down with a keg of beer, and we're going to call you Biff Kegmeister.
Okay.
And I had to take that shit seriously. Like, I had to, like, are you fucking with me? They were dead serious. So I was like, there's no fucking way I'm going to be a Biff Kegmeister. When I first started my wrestling training, I was literally 335 pounds. I was a fat teenage kid. When I had my first match after like the 8 or 9 months of training, I had lost 80 pounds.
Gee, just from the training, or were you
'cause
also working out?
I was doing a little bit of both,
Right.
but like the training certainly helped.
Yeah, the training
because it was intense. It was boot camp shit.
Yeah, it seems like that.
It was
yeah.
fucking insane. Like, it's certainly nothing, like, it's not the same training that we put our kids through here by any stretch of the imagination. It's our training is hard for a different reason.
Right.
You
Is this
know?
the 90s or like early 2000s?
Late 90s. So, oh wait, no, sorry. Actually, this was early 2000s. My apologies. So the biggest reason why I didn't want to do that was because A, what a stupid fucking name.
Yeah.
B, a fucking toga to wrestle in? Fuck you.
Oh, you had to wrestle the whole match?
That's
in a
what they
toga?
wanted.
Oh, I thought they were just saying like wear it down to the ring and then you take it off and you're in a normal wrestling thing.
But the most important part of that was I just lost 80 pounds, and now you're asking me to be to get fatter? That's
Yeah.
not how I don't see that going this way. I'm not doing that. So then they're just like, well, then you need to come up with something. So it was Christmas holiday, and we were going up to my grandparents for Boxing Day, Christmas, or whatever it was, right? We celebrate our Christmas on Boxing Day. So me and my brother in the back seat while they're driving, and I had a Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and I flipped all the way to the back where they had all the independent wrestling results, and I literally did this. Sean, okay? And it was like, I can't remember who it was, but I was just like, Sean. I like the first name Sean, actually. Shawn Michaels, Sean. I'm like, Sean, I can deal with Sean. S-H-A-W-N. Fuck yeah, good name. I like the name Sean. Morgan. And it was, shit. I can't remember who. It was California guy. Donovan Morgan was the guy. And I was just like, Morgan. Sean Morgan. Carl, what do you think about Sean Morgan? He's like, it sounds like a good name.
Who's Carl?
My brother.
Okay.
So then it was just kind of one of those like, okay, I like this name.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, cool. And then I can't remember who, but then somebody called me Superstar Sean Morgan. So I had to go into my first match as Superstar Sean Morgan, and it's like, how the fuck did I have the balls and the audacity to call myself a superstar on my first night in when I'm wearing a plain blue singlet and look like a fucking like D-scrub football player from high school, because that's the kind of shape that I'm in at the time. Like I was set up for failure from the get-go. Like it took a long time. Like I genuinely feel like my first little foray into like part one of my wrestling career was very much a misguided train wreck. Like I had all the heart in the world, all the passion in the world, the work ethic to do it, but nobody wanted to guide me properly. And if I'm being completely honest with you, it wasn't until I flew home from the Hell Tour that I did. I got back. I partied way too hard before the night before I flew home with Chi Cruz, to the point where I remember we were sitting on his couch and we were playing SmackDown on PlayStation, and I blinked, and my next memory was being woken up by a stewardess on the airplane.
Oh, wow.
I still to this day have no clue how I got there.
Wow.
I have no clue how I got on the plane. I have none of this, like no memory whatsoever of any of that.
That's a party.
I'm fucked up. So when we land, I'm like, where am I? Why am I on an airplane, first of all? And where the fuck did I just land? I start doing the fucking cobwebs or whatever. I'm in Hamilton. Okay. How the fuck? Okay. Next thing I know, I see my buddy Reggie Marley, the guy who played New Jack in the Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, Reg! And his wife is there. And he's like, yeah, Ben, get your shit. Let's go. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like trying to remember, okay, I called Reg to pick me up from the airport. I forgot about this. Then we start driving to Brantford and not home. And I'm like, where are we going? He's like, we're going to a show. I'm like, I'm not prepared for this. Like, I'm still fucked up from yesterday, dude. Like, I don't know what's going on. So I get to the show, and there's this like little circle of people. Like, there's Uncle Custom, who I like to call Uncle Custom. There's this guy named J.C. Owens, and Tony Atlas is there.
Oh, wow.
And first of all, I'm like, what the fuck is Tony Atlas doing here? So I go to say hello to my friends, and Tony just happens to be in the circle. And I introduce myself. Tony Atlas, my name is Ben. Nice to meet you, sir. I go to take my hand away, but he fucking hung on to that motherfucker. And then he pulls me in. And with the softest voice, looks me dead in the eye and goes, Ben, you got real beautiful eyes.
Oh.
I'm too fucked up for this, dude. Like, I gotta go. I get the fuck out of there. So I go back into the locker room. I'm not even booked on the show, by the way. I'm just there. I go back into the locker room, and I see Tid. And he doesn't say anything to me. And I could kind of see him kind of doing one of these. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? And what he did was he was waiting for everybody to be in the locker room. Like, he was waiting for there to be the biggest crowd that there was. And then all of a sudden, he's like, hey, Ben. Yeah. He's like, welcome home. And as soon as he did that, I knew what he was doing.
What was he doing?
He wanted everybody to know that this fucking guy that everybody was ignoring just came home from the most prestigious tour that we can offer in this country.
Wow.
And he was, in his own way, like, because I wasn't really close with Chris at that point. He saw my hustle, and he saw the work that I was doing, and he saw the roads that I was taking, and he went out of his way in front of the boys to put me over in front of all of them when he had no business doing so. Wow. And that kind of started our, like, it was the start of, like, oh my God, okay, this dude's the dude. Like, okay. Like, it's funny that we never became close friends until much later after that, but it was that moment where I realized, I'm like, this is our guy. Like, this is the dude, this is the Don, this is the fucking, no matter what, like, this guy's word means more than everybody else's.
Right.
You know?
Which is, of course, notorious TID.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I obviously had Chris on the show.
Yeah.
And I told him the story of me being like early teenager or whatever, seeing this notorious TID at several independent shows and being like, this guy's the baddest motherfucker I have ever seen. This guy seems like he's going to kill everybody. And so from a independent wrestling point of view, you guys all looked up to him.
I was scared shitless of him.
Interesting.
I was petrified of him.
Yeah.
And everybody that like is watching this right now and they're saying petrified, that's a past tense. That's my brother.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to not be scared of him. All the rest of you motherfuckers should 100% be scared of that guy.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Yeah.
Tid was actually my, now here's a cool story for you. When I was away from wrestling and I had taken a bit of time off to pursue like kickboxing and mixed martial arts and stuff, I was having my second kickboxing fight that I had ever done. And I knew that from my first fight where the mistakes went wrong, because I realized that at the gym that I was at the Adrenaline Training Center in London, go support those guys, by the way. There wasn't very many bigger guys. It was all smaller guys. Like when you think about it, it's like, look who owns the gym: Sam Stout, Mark Hominick, Chris Horodecki. The biggest guy who's like one of the owners is Chris Clements, who had fought at the UFC at 170.
Right.
I'm a heavyweight. You know what I mean? So I didn't have bigger guys to. Now keep in mind, all of those smaller dudes could fucking, at the drop of a dime, beat my ass with one hand tied behind their back. Chris Clements used to do it on a fucking daily basis. Like, I used to love it, but there was no bigger guys for me on my level to spar with and get better with. I remember putting out a Facebook message. I was just like, if any big dude would please do me the favor and just come be a sparring partner. I don't care if you're from wrestling. I don't care if you're from anybody that could just fucking help me out, please. He was the only person who immediately got in touch and said, I'll be there.
Wow.
And I was like,
wow.
Chris, I'm like, listen, with all due respect, I'm like, I've been out of wrestling for a few years, and I've been striking like for years now with like some real professionals. I'm not the same kid that you knew like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Like if you'd come down here, like we're going to throw hands, and I'm not as scared of you as I was before, because I deal with killers on a daily basis now. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And he did, man. He came down, and we fucking went toe to toe, and to the point where like I can't remember what round it was, but like we got like into the later rounds of sparring, and all of a sudden we're fighting, and we just weren't stopping. And then I was like, why the fuck where's the bell? And then it dawned on us that we had gone through 3 bells, and we just didn't hear it. We were just so into fucking beating the shit out of one another that we completely fought 3 rounds straight without even hearing the 10-second, the fucking alarm, the 1 minute fucking nothing. We missed it all because we were just beating the fucking piss out of one another.
Wow.
And at that point, that's when I knew that is my best friend. And that is like, nobody had the audacity, the courage, the balls, anything that you want to say to come and help me. And he did, and he took it, he gave it, and I will always respect him and love him to death for that. And now we're at the point, ever since that day, where like we have keys to each other's homes. I've got a key to his truck. Like his family is my family. I've literally spent Christmas days at his house with his family, numerous. You know, because that's how much I love that guy. He's this really weird father figure, best friend, coach, brother, like all of the good things that you've ever wanted in your life from like different people. I have the luxury of being able to have this all bundled into one human being, and it's fascinating to me. He's the most fascinating dude that you're ever gonna meet. And there's so many times where I just wish that I could just sit and watch him talk with just like random people, just to see like how that conversation would go. Because I hate when people try to do the whole like I'm the smartest guy in the room thing, but it's when he's in the room, it's fucking hard to find somebody that's gonna outwit him and smart him. And it's fascinating from every which way that you could possibly like imagine it.
Wow. Just taking it back to the kickboxing thing.
Yeah.
Did you have actual matches or fights in kickboxing?
Yeah.
How did those go?
The first one I lost. So my first fight I had, I was supposed to fight a guy of my same size and same experience with no fights. So I show up on fight day, and I'm getting my hands wrapped, and Hominick comes up to me and tells me that my opponent no-showed.
Oh.
So I'm like, what do you mean he no-showed? He's like, yeah, he just didn't come. So what do I do? Like, what am I supposed to do? He's like, there's another guy here that'll fight you. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm kind of scared about this. Like, so, like, tell me about this guy.
Had you been preparing for the guy you were going to fight, or
Sorta. I didn't know who he was. I was just preparing to be the best that I could be.
Right.
Because like I knew that if this dude if he has no experience and I got no experience, you can't. There's no tape to study. You just got to go in there and be like, I gotta hit this guy first and harder than he hits me.
Right.
Essentially, right. So next thing I know, he's like, I do got a guy here that'll fight you, and I immediately asked him, like, what's his experience like? And he says, he's 1-1. 1-1? What is it fucking, what do you mean? He's like, do you want the fight or not? Fuck. You're my coach. You tell me what to do.
Right.
If you want me to fight him, Mark, I'll fight him. But I'm scared. I'm just telling you straight up. I'm petrified. You're in. Like, I guess I'm in. So I actually went and talked to the guy beforehand. I was like, almost like a wrestler. I went and shook his hand. I was like, hey, man, we're fighting today.
Right.
Thanks, I guess. And he's just like, all right, cool. And I can even see like some weird twinkle in his eye. So we get into the ring. I'm scared. We touched gloves, and we had that first combination where we both threw at one another, and I knew immediately I got fucking lied to.
Oh, no.
Because Mark was the referee of that fight, too.
Right.
Immediately I knew I got lied to. This dude was not a 1-1.
Right.
I'm in there with an experienced fucking fighter. So he's lighting me up in the first round, and the next thing I know, like I kind of see my opening, and bam, I rocked him with an uppercut, and it fucking staggered him. So I'm like, oh shit! So I see it, and I fucking like went after him. Everything I got, I'm throwing the hardest fucking fastest shots that I can. I'm like, I'm gonna put this fucking guy away. And then he gets into the ropes, and then the ref breaks it up. Okay, break it up and go. Wait, what? Go? I hit him once, didn't I win? And every bit of gas that I had was gone in that one, and this was the first round. And then he just lit me up for 2 more rounds. But then afterward, like I gained his respect, and he even said to me, like as soon as like we threw the last punch and you hear the word ding, he's just like, let's train together sometime. And I was like, okay, cool, that'd be great. So when my second fight rolled around, I knew that I had to make changes.
Yeah.
And I knew that I couldn't put myself in a situation to get set up the same way that I did last. Like I needed to make sure that like everything that I was prepared for was like I was ready. And sure as shit, I get ready for my second fight, and same thing, guy doesn't show. And I'm like, for fuck's sakes.
Same guy?
No, not the same, different guy. But then all of a sudden, me and a teammate of mine get told, or because he gets told that his guy might not show either, and they're trying to convince us two to fight. And I'm like, I'm not fighting my teammate. I won't do it. Like I'll spar my teammate all damn day, but I will never go in with an intention to knock out any one of my teammates. I won't do it. And I would hope to God the same in return. And next thing we know, they found they had 2 guys, 2 heavyweights that were gonna come down. So me and this dude Ryan were sitting there chatting, and we're kind of like, "Fuck, who the fuck are these guys? Where are they? Are they coming?" And we just see 2 dudes walk into the fucking door at the same time, and it was almost like the OK Corral. You know what I mean? Like there might as well have been fucking smoke coming off them and everything. Because then we just looked at them, they looked at us, and we're just like, "So this is the fight. It's us against them. I don't know which one we got, but like, let's make these guys fucking regret like even asking us to fight one. Let's go fucking make examples of these dudes."
Yeah.
And I was so comfortable in that fight. I was weird. Like time was so slow. I could see punches coming a mile away. Like I fucked this dude right up. It was great. And Ryan, like we went to 3 rounds. I beat him. I got the win. Still one of the proudest moments of my life. And then Ryan fought next and didn't waste any time. He just sloshed this dude and then ended the punch with the funniest thing I've ever seen. He fucking donkey punched hammer fist this dude right in the fucking forehead and dropped him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was the greatest fucking thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to just get back to the wrestling thing.
Yeah.
Because obviously you've done the road, you've done the indie thing, but you got a chance to spend some time, I guess, with WWE doing like
extra work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was that experience like?
Terrible.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
Because I love wrestling too much, and they don't.
Yeah.
They aren't a wrestling company. They're an entertainment company.
Right.
So I don't want to like completely shit all over my time there, because
How many occasions have you worked with them?
5 days, nothing too crazy, but like I did.
All in a row, or was that?
No, it was 2 different
separate?
stretches. So the first one, my first ever stretch that I did there was I did a Fastlane pay-per-view in Columbus, Ohio. And then the next day we went to Detroit for Raw. And then we went to Indianapolis for SmackDown.
Nice.
So my first night in, I actually got an on-screen role where I was Kofi Kingston's doctor. And that was a lot of fun because, like, for a couple of reasons. Like, I mean, I'll never forget going out the curtain for the first time and kind of seeing all of that stuff. Like, as much as I'm shitting on WWE, like, I'll never forget that first visual, because like that's the visual that I've been waiting for my whole life.
Did you
Walk
come
down the
out,
ramp?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
while people are there, or is
yeah.
this?
Yeah.
So you're a doctor coming to the ring
Yeah.
to help him?
Yep.
Oh, that's so cool.
And when I got down there, like, we were told, like, hey, you're going to be putting some time in because, like, the segment is going to be long. So I'm sitting there with Kofi, and I don't know how to be a fucking doctor. Like, I don't know what a doctor says or does or whatever. So at one point, I'm just trying to, like, figure out what to do and whatever. And then I'm, like, looking down at Kofi, and I'm like, this motherfucker's got some really nice gear. So I'm just like, hey, Kof. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, is this a weird time to tell you that your gear is dope as fuck? And he literally goes from like, and then just turns into me and just starts laughing his balls off, and like uncontrollably. And I'm like, oh no, I broke Kofi, stop, you're dead. And then next, like, we're cracking jokes for like fucking 8 minutes. Like the entire time we're there, like, we are, oh my, it was the best moment.
What's happening? Is he on the outside of the ring, hurt?
Yeah.
What's happening in the ring? Like,
so what had happened was they had wrestled the Usos, and then
is this New Day?
Yes,
Is this
the New Day had
Okay.
wrestled the Usos,
Yeah.
and then in the end of the match, Harper and Rowan were the Bludgeon Brothers at the
Yes.
time, and
Yes.
they came down with like the fucking hammers and the whole shebang, and they just shit whooped the whole fucking all of them, right?
Oh,
and
wow.
then we had to go down there and kind of clean up the pile. So that was pretty neat. So then next thing I know, like I said, like we're just cracking jokes, like I'm telling him about his gear and all that stuff, and he is having just the best time. So the best part is I can't even remember what it was that we were talking about, but whatever it was, we were fucking laughing our balls off, to the point where even as I'm carrying him up the ramp, like, we're doing our best to not laugh directly into the camera. When we got through the little deal there and you turn away, like, he went from dying to, like, he fell crying. He was like, dude, that was so much fucking fun. And I'm like, are you talking to me? Like, cause what the fuck? Like, this is
That's
crazy.
awesome.
And then he starts, and I told him, I'm like, hey man, I can't thank you enough for like keeping me calm out there, because that was the first time I've ever done anything like this. And he's like, that was your first time? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, and then I won't say what, I don't want to tell the story just because I feel like it might have been one of those like kind of for me stories. But then he started telling me about like his first time that he ever did it, and was just giving me like really encouraging like words
so
and stuff
nice.
like that.
Yeah.
Like he was really, really cool. To the point where like the following year at Fastlane, he was wrestling Daniel Bryan for the heavyweight title. And then I shot him a tweet, and I was like, hey man, glad to see that things are going better for you this Fastlane as opposed to last Fastlane. I'm sure that you have like, there's like no reason for you to remember me or whatever. I was just like, but just so you know, like, that was my highlight of my life, was that day, getting to do that with you. So I'm glad to see that you get the same thing a year later. And he like tweeted me back. He was like, oh fuck yeah, man, I remember you, blah blah blah. He's like, I hope you're doing well. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool that like somebody like that
really
remembers an extra, just because those guys meet a lot of people. So, you know.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, like that was like really the only fun day that I had there. Like, everything else was just a kind of a bit of a disaster, just because like the Monday was fine. Like you're driving to like what was trippy was just kind of being backstage at the Joe Louis arena, or not the Joe Louis, the Little Caesars arena.
Yeah, the new one in Detroit. Yeah.
So it was kind of just that was the trippy part for me. I'm like, I'm backstage at this fucking new like Detroit. Like this is legendary. You know?
Is it what you would think it was, like as a kid or like whatever? When you thought of being backstage, was it what you would have thought? No.
When I was a kid, no. Was it what it was sort of like what I thought it was going to be. Like it was definitely what I thought it was going to be like from the sense of like from a visual perspective.
Right.
How it was ran, no. Like there's really nothing that can prepare you for that, which is kind of the advice that I try to give people when they come to me and they ask me for advice on what to do when they get extra work for there. They're just like, what's a day like, and what do you got to do? And I kind of give them like here are the basics. Like, I think these are the rules that they want you to know so that way you don't get in trouble. But fuck if I know, because, like, I mean, they change their mind on a goddamn daily basis. So, like, the Monday was fine. The Tuesday when we're in Indianapolis, I ended up getting there late because there was a really bad accident on the way to Indianapolis, and the traffic really fucked me over. So I got to the building about an hour later than I was supposed to. So I get there and I see one of the other extras, and he's dressed up in like gear, like he's dressed ready to work out. I was like, Nate, like what's going on? He's like, matches in the ring, go get dressed. I'm like, matches? Fuck, okay. So I go and I'm like, I asked one of the other extras who I'd known for a while, and he was there on the same loop. So I asked him because I trusted him. I said, hey, they want us to go out to the ring for matches. Do I put workout gear on or do I put my wrestling gear on? Put your workout gear on. Don't be a mark. Yeah, that's a good idea. That makes sense. I don't want to go out there and all of a sudden be in my fucking wrestling gear while they're just like wanting to see what we can do. I don't know what the deal is. So I go put on my my Rancid t-shirt, my shorts, whatever, my knee pads, boots, go to the ring. I get to the ring and I see the exact same person that just gave me this advice in his wrestling gear.
Oh no.
And then I see everybody else in their wrestling gear.
No.
And this motherfucker set me up.
Oh. Why?
Because he's a piece of shit.
Did he just do it just because he knew you were going to get...
Yep. And guess what? And here's the crazy part, too, is my buddy Luke, that I was telling you about before, HHV, he travels for work a lot. So, like, he accumulates a lot of hotel points. He got me a hotel in Michigan, like in Detroit, after Raw, because he had the points to do it, and he knew that I was just down there just going. He's like, hey, I'm going to get you a room. Go fucking get yourself a bed. Like, I love this guy. That's my boy. So this fucking asshole that I was just telling you about that gave me the wrong advice, I let him stay in my fucking hotel room the night before.
Come on.
Yeah.
Was there did you guys have an issue or something?
No.
Like, was there something you did that he was like, I'm going to get you back?
No.
Nothing?
Nothing that I've ever done to him.
So was this just simply a case of a guy saw an opportunity to fuck you over and he just took it?
Yes.
Wow.
100%.
So what happened? What did they say when you show up in your workout gear?
So obviously I'm like, I'm already nervous and I'm scared for my life as is there because I'm like, this is my opportunity. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, like I'm already here incorrectly. So I'm like, the only way to fucking beat this in my mind is to just be first. So when John Cohn, the referee and the guy who's in charge of the extras, he's by the ring, and this is something that I tell my students all the time too. It's like if there's an experienced guy in the ring and like we're here during class or at a show and he says, hey, I want to do this. Who wants to hop in here and do this with me? Do not even let him finish the sentence. Get the fuck in there. Show the initiative.
Right.
So Cohn's in the ring and he's just like, all right, who wants to get in and do a match? I fucking flew in there. I'm like, I'm not letting anybody fucking take this from me. I'm doing this. So then all of a sudden I get in the ring and he's like, okay, great. We got one. Who's next? Who's in? And then I look to the other extras to see like who's hopping in, and then you just see everybody doing this. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then it dawned on me immediately. Oh, like all these other guys kind of already paired up and put matches together, so then that way they could be like look the best that they can in front of the people that are watching. So I had a strategy going in because I knew that if matches were going to be a thing, I'm like, okay, this is my strategy, is I feel very comfortable leading somebody through a match, especially a 5-minute match. I can do that. I'm also very comfortable taking people's moves and selling for them. So my idea was I was going to lock up with whoever it was I was going to wrestle and say, hey, what's your finish? Cool. I'm going to take the shit out of it. I got the rest. Just listen. So all of a sudden, my strategy goes to shit when the oldest dude that's in the fucking set of extras, and like when I say oldest dude, I mean like old dude. Like he's in his 40s, and I'm pretty sure that he was there because he's Randy Orton's friend.
Okay. Yeah.
So he hops in, and then immediately I'm like, I can't call on the older guy. I can't.
Because he has more experience.
It's
so
disrespectful.
It's disrespectful. So you have to let him call it.
Yes.
Fine.
And now I'm like, oh no, like this dude's old. Like I don't know because I don't know how to move him. I don't know if I'm gonna hurt him. I don't know.
Right.
So next thing I know, we fucking lock up and he backs me into the corner. And the next thing I know, I'm like he just keeps fucking shooting me into the fucking corners. And I'm like, what are we doing? First of all, fuck you because this ring is so much bigger and I'm getting really fucking tired. But what are we doing? Like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, the match was literally the worst match I've ever had in my fucking life.
No.
So what I think happened was I think that the dude had the same idea because he did the match and then next thing I know, fires me into a corner and he just says, move out of the way and roll me up. I hit the buckle, and as he's running at me, I'm like, is this the fucking finish? I move, I roll him up, and I realize he totally wants this to be the finish. So I'm in the process.
Roll up?
Yeah, so I'm in the process, and I'm like, no. So I'm about to transition into a submission move that I do, and I'm like, I could do it from here. And I'm like trying to explain it to him. I'm like, hey, kick out, like raise your, like I'm like, kick out, raise your right shoulder. I'm gonna grab your legs, turn you over. And as I said that, the referee looks at me and does this. I'm sorry. 3.
Oh, shit.
So normally when you win a match, you get the fuck up and you celebrate.
Yeah.
There's a section of the ring where it was like the management and a lot of the wrestlers. And they're all just like basically where the hard cam is. So you're wrestling to the boys.
Yeah.
I rolled him up, and instead of getting up and celebrating, I literally fell to my ass with my back to everybody and put my head in my hands and almost fucking cried.
Shit.
Because I was just like, oh no, this was the most important moment of my life, and I just fucked it up. Like, and I didn't even fuck it up. Like,
yeah. Some old asshole fucked it up.
This guy fucked it up. So next thing I know, I get out of the ring, and I try to go over to my buddy, who the shit advice provider, and I went to go and be like, I wanted him just to say anything to me to calm me down. And when I went over to him, I tried to say something to me, and he just looks at me and he says, "Get away from me."
He says this to you?
Yeah.
What a piece of shit this guy is.
So now I'm like, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden, John Cone, the referee, comes over to me. And he's just like, hey, you ever ref before? Lied through my teeth. Yes, sir. You want to ref the next match? Okay. So he has me go in there and ref the next match. And I understood the art form of working television and working a hard cam. So there were times where like I was literally like spinning the fucking wrestlers to work towards the hard cam. I guess it got noticed because then they were asking me, hey, ref the next match, ref the next match, I refed all the rest of the matches.
Wow.
So matches are over. He calls it everything, and he's like, all right, good job, everybody, blah, blah, blah. Fucking liar. But anyway, I asked him right afterwards, I'm like, hey, John, I'm like, just out of curiosity, I'm like, why did you have me referee? Like, just out of curiosity. And he says, Mark Carano wanted to see how you would handle adversity. Mark Carano's the guy who hires people there.
Right. I was just going to say, he's like the head of talent relations. Is that his job? Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if that's his title, but he's the dude who hires people.
Right. He's the guy on, like, Ms. and Mrs. Total Bellas that you always see talking to the talking to the people. Yeah. I know him.
He's a very important guy there. Yeah. So I was just like, Carano wanted to see how I'd handle adversity? I'm like, okay. How the fuck is being a referee like adversity? I don't get it. So next thing I know, I go back to catering, and then I got like a weird group of people that are coming up to me and telling me that I did a good job as a referee. And then I saw one guy, Roderick Strong, in catering, and I knew that he was there for my match, and he was putting me over as a ref, and I'm like, Roddy, just out of curiosity, I'm like, just the match, and he's like, I'm like, oh no. So I've got people coming up to me during the day, telling me, they're like, I wouldn't be surprised if you get a job here as a referee. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So then I go to leave in Indianapolis, and that was like my final day of that loop. As I'm leaving, I just hear, hey, ref! And I'm like, nobody's talking to me, but I kind of do one of these things, and then I look over, and sure as shit, Mark Carano. He's like, ref, come here. Okay. I'm like, Mr. Carano, I'm like, you wanted to see me ref today. I'm like, I don't know why, but thank you for the opportunity. And he's just like, yeah. I just wanted to let you know that we're going to be in touch about that. I'm like,
wow.
Soon as he said it, you would have thought that the fireworks would have gone off in my head and in my heart, and I've been like, oh my God, I'm about to get a fucking job. Immediately, as soon as he said that, my heart shattered. Because my good friend of mine, he wrestles as Psycho Mike. He told me about an experience of his where it was the same thing. You know, we'll be in touch. No, you're fucking not going to be in touch, man. Why do you tell people that?
Yeah, that's shitty.
You motherfuckers. Like, why would you fucking put that into my head? You didn't have to do that. You could have just let me walk out that fucking door. And you could have even just said, hey, Ben, good job.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You could have even done one better. Said fucking nothing to me and let me keep walking.
Yeah.
But you had to stop me, and you had to fucking put that into my head. And the moment the fucking noise came out of his mouth, I knew it was bullshit. And I was like, oh, wow. This is what Mike was talking about. This is what everybody talks about. Like, where they, yeah, man, cool. You did a great job. And they put you over, and they tell you how much they fucking, oh, man, I think we might have a spot for, fuck you. Never fucking, like, the only time I ever heard from them again was a year later when I got in touch with them, where they invited me to come and do extra work in Toronto for Raw and SmackDown. And so, like, it's just like this, like I said, I love what I do too much. And, you know, for some people, it's okay to go and be that guy in the WWE and make that money and show up and eat their very delicious catering.
Oh, they have great catering?
The fucking best catering.
Is it always the same thing everywhere, or do they just get
different.
something in each town they order in?
My experience, everything was different. But, like, Detroit, like, I remember specifically, like, I'm eating, like, this steak that I swear to God had to have been $100 per steak. And I ate probably 5 of them. I didn't give a fuck.
Are you allowed to eat anything you want while you're there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they encourage it. Like,
is it all day? Do they have catering, like, at any point of the day?
Yeah.
Wow. So there's just like a room where people are they making it there? Or are they bringing it out? Or is it like buffet style?
I don't know where it gets made, but like it just, like I think they have a person that deals with the catering, or maybe, and then they deal with the people, and like there's,
right.
I remember there was one girl that was there constantly while I was there, and I would always go up to her and thank her for the excellent meals because I just always thought that was the polite thing to do.
Yeah.
But then I heard afterwards that they just get it from other places. I don't necessarily know, but I just remember that every fucking time that I ever got to eat there was the best meal I've ever had in my life. Like, hands down.
Really? The
So,
best meal? That's
but
awesome.
that isn't worth it to me to show up and eat that good and have to live my life like that for 12 hours a day.
Sure.
I can't do that.
This was a lot of fun, man. Thank you so much for doing this and especially for letting us do it here. And I appreciate everything you've said here.
I appreciate you coming down. We've been trying to redo this ever since we did something the last time. We've been trying to do something together ever since. So I'm glad that, in a weird way that it kind of worked out the way that it has with unfortunate circumstances or whatever. But I'm just really happy to see you out there hustling and creating content and doing all the stuff that, you really should be doing during a time like this. And I just want to say thank you for allowing both me and Chris to be a part of it and so early on in stages as well. So appreciate it, man. And now I got to call Tid and get my fucking $25 from last time, that prick.
I do appreciate Ben Ortmanns being here. I appreciate him taking the time to do the show. Make sure you give him a follow on all social media. He also has a podcast called Big Ben and Friends. It's Big Ben. He's got friends. They talk about it. I was on an episode, had a great time, and absolutely loved it. And I love Ben Ortmanns, and I can't thank him enough for doing the episode here, for doing the show, and just for being a great overall dude. Because he's one of the, he's just a great guy. He's one of those people you meet and instantly bond with and feel like you've known for your whole life. And I appreciate that. So thank you so much. Follow him on social media. When they start doing live wrestling shows again, watch out for him at your local establishment where they're setting up a ring and he gets in there and beats the shit out of people, unless they're me and I pay the ref, in which case you'll never beat me. So I'm 1-0 and I'm retiring. By the way, I am retiring from the wrestling industry. I did want to take this opportunity to officially announce my retirement. I will never do another match again. I'm retiring at 1-0. In my opinion, champion. There's no belt, but I'm going to call myself a champion. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for watching here on the Jeff Leeson Show YouTube channel. It'd be great if you'd go ahead and subscribe before you left. Click the notification bell so you know when we upload some videos, and then you can go and watch them. It'll be really fun for you. You don't have to guess or try to figure it out. You don't have to wait. Just a notification comes up and you go, oh shit, there's another video. I should go watch that. And we would certainly appreciate it. Thank you for listening everywhere that you get your podcast, unless you get them from a guy in the alley who downloads them onto a USB stick, in which case, I hope he's downloading ours, and we appreciate that, sir. And also, Spotify's a thing, so you might want to reconfigure your whole business model. But for now, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week, I hope.